The moment I saw my sister, Brooke, perched at my designated seat, the seat reserved for the evening's biggest donor, wearing a dress that screamed social climber, and accepting the mayor's congratulations, I felt the ice-cold burn of total betrayal. My family, the Larsons, had always deemed me, Savannah, the messy, intellectual outcast, unfit for the glittering stages of high society. They deemed my introverted nature and my science-first style an embarrassment, and secretly sent my glamorous, superficial sister to replace me at the $5 million Starlight Legacy Gala. They were ready to steal the social capital of my $1 million donation. What they didn't know was that I was about to walk into that ballroom and, in front of the city's most powerful elite, publicly dismantle their reputation piece by piece, starting with the quiet withdrawal of a future $5 million pledge. The Larsons wanted status. I gave them a catastrophic scandal. My life has always been a study in contrast to my family's existence. I am Savannah Larson, 32 years old, and a successful, if intensely private, bioengineer. I founded a small, agile company that developed an AI-driven tool for accelerated pharmaceutical research, specifically targeting early-stage cancer detection, a development that earned us a fiercely protected, multi-million-dollar patent. My success came not from social networking or glittering appearances, but from endless hours hunched over code and chemical compounds in a quiet, anonymous lab near Boston. My wealth, significant, quiet, and growing from the recurring royalties, was earned, not inherited, which ironically made it dirty money in my mother's eyes. My family, however, operates solely on inherited, surface-level status. My mother, Vivian Larson, 58, is a social fixture whose entire identity is wrapped up in appearing impeccable and moving in the right circles of New York high society. She spends her days curating her image and her evenings attending events, always angling for a seat next to Mrs. Astor or Mrs. Vanderbilt. My younger sister, Brooke, 30, is the epitome of the family ideal, stunning, effortlessly chic, and completely focused on securing influence through charm rather than merit. She sees me as a peculiar, necessary engine for the lifestyle she expects to inherit. I was the black sheep, the unruly genius they tolerated. When I tried to explain the complexities of the deep learning algorithms that drove my patent's success, my mother would shoo me away with a flutter of her hand. Talk about something charming, Savannah. Like the new line at Tiffany's. She constantly critiqued my choice of clothes, my lack of social grace, and my inability to network properly. Savannah, she would sigh, giving my quiet silk blouse a disgusted look over FaceTime. When will you learn to present yourself? You look like a brilliant but slightly rumpled graduate student who just discovered dry cleaning. These people, the ones who matter, they don't invest in rumpled. Brooke, meanwhile, would simply offer condescending advice, like just smile and nod, save. Don't talk about enzymes, they'll get bored and think your money is accidental. 6 months ago, the revenue stream from my patent reached a milestone that allowed me to establish a substantial philanthropic foundation, which I named the Meridian Fund. Deliberately avoiding the Larson name, I decided to make a large, anonymous donation, $1 million, to the Starlight Legacy Gala, an annual charity event benefiting children's hospitals in the tri-state area. I wanted the money to do good, not to buy me a social spotlight. However, the gala organizers, recognizing the sheer impact of the donation, it was the single largest private donation that year, refused to keep the donor entirely secret. The head organizer, Ms. Caldwell, explained in a tense conference call that they needed to publicly acknowledge the funding source to encourage future commitments, insisting that I, as the foundation's sole trustee, occupy the honored table, Table 1, next to the mayor and the hospital CEO. It was a condition of the large sum. Reluctantly, I agreed, seeing it as a necessary, one-time public obligation for the benefit of the foundation's future. The gala was set for a Saturday night at the ultra-luxurious Four Seasons in Midtown Manhattan. I booked a flight down from Boston and, knowing the family would interfere, kept the details vague. But when I mentioned the event and showed them the deep emerald green gown I had commissioned from a small, established couturier, elegant, simple, and modest, designed to be respectable rather than sensational, the inevitable conflict erupted. My mother, Vivian, staged a full theatrical meltdown in the living room of her Upper East Side apartment, dramatically clutching her chest. That dress, Savannah? It's beautiful, yes, but it lacks presence. It's utterly forgettable. This is the Starlight Gala, darling, where the most important connections are solidified. You are representing the Larson name, and you look like you're attending a quiet gallery opening. She wanted me in something that screamed wealth and pedigree, not quiet accomplishment. Mom, I'm the donor, not a runway model, I countered, already weary. The focus is the $1 million, not the fabric I'm wearing. The dress is appropriate. Appropriate is a disaster, she snapped, running a manicured hand through her perfectly coiffed blonde hair. Your demeanor, your tendency to talk about actual science. You will bore the mayor, you will alienate the Vanderbilts, and you will embarrass us all. We need a presence that commands attention and makes friends, not awkward silences. Brooke can do that. She knows how to glide. I shut her down immediately. Brooke is not the trustee. The Meridian Fund is tied to my personal business accounts. I am going. End of discussion. The argument ended with a forced, brittle truce, but the air felt poisoned. They knew they couldn't stop me from attending, so they resorted to a different, more insidious tactic. The next afternoon, Friday, 24 hours before the gala, my mother called me in Boston, sounding frantic, her voice cracking with manufactured distress. Savannah, darling, you have to come back immediately. It's Dad. He collapsed at the club. They think it's his heart. He's asking for you. I'm in a total state. I need you here now. My father has a history of mild heart issues, and my immediate frantic reaction was terror. I dropped a final check of my presentation notes, canceled my planned evening flight, and booked a rushed, expensive train ticket back to New York, texting my mother I'd arrive late that evening. The entire train ride was consumed by worry and the dread of a family emergency. But as the train pulled into Penn Station, I called her again, my heart pounding with fear. She answered, but her tone was suddenly calm, almost dismissive, devoid of any genuine panic. Oh, Dad? He's fine, dear. Just a severe case of indigestion, the doctor confirmed. False alarm. He ate too much caviar at the club. But thank goodness you're here to keep me company. You can stay home with me tomorrow too, just in case. You need to rest, darling. A cold dread, sharp and sickening, washed over me. The anxiety was replaced by total, unadulterated fury. I checked my phone history. 2 minutes after I told her I was boarding the train, a group text had gone out to Brooke and my father. Vivian, 9:15 p.m., Operation Gala is a go. Savannah is out of the picture. Brooke, remember the script. Representing the Larson family commitment to the future of healthcare. Don't forget to mention how much you admire Mrs. Astor's estate. The betrayal was immediate and searing. They had manufactured a severe medical emergency to sideline me, to keep the awkward scientist away from their social spotlight. But the true gut punch came 3 minutes later from Brooke. She had accidentally sent a text intended for her stylist to me instead. Brooke, 9:18 p.m. This custom Elisab fits like a dream. Tell Mom thanks for securing the mayor's table badge. I feel like a princess. This is going to be the night I finally meet someone worth meeting and get taken seriously. Savannah would just embarrass herself anyway, talking about her spreadsheets. Say hi to the mayor for me. Right. The anger was no longer cold. It was volcanic. They didn't just sideline me. They actively replaced me, planning to usurp my achievement, steal my spotlight, and use it to leverage Brooke's social standing. They were going to sit at table 1, accept the recognition for my $1 million donation, and network with the city's power brokers, all under the false pretense that Brooke was the family representative of the philanthropic genius. They weren't just stealing credit. They were stealing my identity and converting my intellectual success into their superficial currency. I didn't argue. I didn't text back. I went straight to my quiet, minimalist apartment far from the Upper East Side. I spent the next morning in a frenzy of focused planning, moving from the emotional shock to the detached, methodical precision of a scientist executing a critical experiment. I contacted my foundation's attorney, detailing the fraud. I contacted the gala's head organizer, Ms. Caldwell, under the guise of confirming my delayed attendance, and learned the exact moment the Larson Foundation was scheduled to be recognized, 8:30 p.m. Then I focused on my attire. The simple green dress was now symbolic of my past weakness. I pulled out the dress I had custom-made for a formal European tech summit. A sleek, almost architectural midnight blue velvet sheath with a diamond-cut neckline, designed for understated power. I had my hair swept up into an elegant, severe chignon, the style conveying precision and lack of fuss. I looked like a weapon dressed for a board meeting. I arrived at the Four Seasons at 8:25 p.m. The entire ballroom was a glittering tableau of wealth, silk, and diamonds. I bypassed the main check-in, where the family's imposture would be flagged, and found a side entrance near the kitchen, using the name of one of the hospital's board members who owed me a favor from a consulting project. The lights were dimmed for the main presentation. I saw table 1 immediately, directly adjacent to the stage, bathed in the soft glow of the spotlights. And there she was, Brooke, blindingly glamorous in a borrowed, sequined scarlet gown that looked like it cost more than my first car, perched next to the mayor, chatting animatedly and smiling for the roving cameras. She was wearing my spotlight, my recognition, my opportunity. I waited until the hospital CEO, Dr. Henry Vance, finished his laudatory speech about the year's fundraising success. And now, he announced, his voice booming over the speaker system, we come to the cornerstone of this evening's achievement. We would like to recognize the visionary leadership and unprecedented generosity of the Larson Foundation, whose single $1 million gift has accelerated our research timeline by 3 years and will save countless lives. Representing the Larson Foundation and the esteemed Larson family, please welcome Ms. Brooke Larson. The ballroom erupted in applause. Brooke stood up, soaking up the light and the energy, walking gracefully toward the podium as if she deserved every single clap. I watched my sister, the woman who couldn't balance a checkbook or hold a job for 6 months, prepare to take credit for the fruits of my life's work. As Brooke reached the microphone, I made my move. I walked directly toward table 1, my heels clicking loudly on the marble floor during the lull in the applause, demanding attention without saying a word. I reached the table, my shadow falling over the mayor, and picked up the small, engraved place card that clearly read, Ms. Brooke Larson, Larson Foundation Trustee. I crushed the card in my fist. Brooke mid-speech saw me. Her eyes widened, her jaw slackened, and the perfect, practiced socialite smile fractured instantly. Savannah? What are you doing here? She hissed, her voice loud enough to be picked up by the microphone, which was still live. The room, sensing the visceral shift in atmosphere, fell into a collective, expectant silence. I took the microphone from the stand, my hand steady, my eyes sweeping over the silent, expectant faces of the city's elite. The mayor, a distinguished gentleman named Mr. Evans, looked between us with growing alarm. I apologize for the interruption, I said, my voice clear and measured, carrying an authority Brooke could never possess. I am Savannah Larson. Not Brooke. I am the CEO of the company that owns the medical patent responsible for the funding. And I am the sole trustee of the Meridian Fund, also known as the Larson Foundation. A ripple of profound confusion went through the room. Ms. Caldwell, the head organizer, hurried toward the stage, her face a mask of total panic, her pearl necklace bouncing. Ms. Larson, what is going on? We were told. You were lied to, Ms. Caldwell, I stated simply. I looked directly at Brooke, who was hyperventilating, her scarlet gown suddenly seeming cheap and desperate. My sister, under the direction of my mother, decided that I, the person who actually earned and made the donation, was too socially unacceptable to represent the family name. So they staged a fake medical emergency for my father, kept me away, and sent a more attractive, more compliant imposter to steal the social capital of my donation and network in my place. The room buzzed, 1,000 furious whispers erupting at once. Brooke finally found her voice, shrill with panic. That's not true. I'm representing the family. The family decided. The family that conspired to incapacitate me with a fake medical emergency? I asked, raising an eyebrow, the look of disbelief on the mayor's face providing my evidence. I then turned back to the audience, my voice now dropping to a tone of cold, professional finality. I will not allow the funds generated by life-saving medical technology to be used to reward dishonesty and social manipulation. The $1 million gift has been legally executed and cannot be withdrawn. The children's hospital deserves that funding, and I refuse to punish them for my family's behavior. However, I reached into my small clutch and pulled out a single sheet of paper, a signed letter of intent, ready to be executed next week. I was scheduled to finalize a 5-year, $5 million pledge to this institution's research arm, specifically earmarked for infrastructure improvement. I held the paper up, ensuring the front row tables could see the letterhead and the dollar amount. Then slowly, deliberately, I tore the document in half, letting the 2 pieces float down to the mahogany floor. The sound of the thick paper ripping was shockingly loud in the silent room. In light of this evening's unprincipled, deceitful, and frankly embarrassing display by my sister, Brooke Larson, and my mother, Vivian Larson, I continued, making sure every word was pronounced clearly. I have concluded that the Larson name is, indeed, too much of a liability for serious philanthropy. I am immediately withdrawing my future $5 million commitment to the Starlight Legacy Gala. The impact was physically visible. $5 million vanishing into thin air. Dr. Vance, the CEO, gripped the podium, his face ashen with shock. Ms. Caldwell looked like she might pass out. The social damage was instant and irreparable. The whispers turned to gasps, then to outright condemnation. The mayor quickly and pointedly moved 2 seats down, distancing himself from the scandal erupting at his table. The funds, I added, turning to Dr. Vance, will be rerouted tomorrow morning to a competing organization, the East River Children's Institute, an organization that I have verified values ethical conduct and intellectual merit over superficial social climbing. I placed the ripped paper on the podium, my revenge complete. I didn't need to say another word. I gave Brooke one last, withering look, a look that conveyed every year of scorn and dismissal they had ever inflicted on me. I nodded curtly to Ms. Caldwell, who was too stunned to speak, and walked out of the ballroom. The exit was slow, deliberate, and entirely satisfying. As I left, I saw my mother, Vivian, having just arrived and dressed in a theatrical ball gown, standing frozen near the entrance. She had clearly just received the news, her face contorted in a silent scream of disbelief, having realized that her scheme had not only failed but had cost her family all of their social currency, and cost the gala $5 million. Brooke was being escorted away from the stage by a bewildered security guard who had clearly been told to remove the imposter. The last sound I heard was the intense, furious murmuring of the city's most influential people discussing the Larson family catastrophe. I flew back to Boston the next morning. My name was cleared, and my principles were intact. The Larson name, however, was now synonymous with petty greed and fraud in the exclusive circles they cherished. My mother's calls and texts in the following days were filled with hysteria, threats of disinheritance, which was meaningless, as my wealth dwarfed hers, and desperate pleading, all of which I ignored. I didn't just embarrass them. I performed a hostile takeover of their reputation, revealed their duplicity to their entire social world, and then burned the evidence of my future loyalty. They said I would embarrass myself. Instead, I ensured they would never again be welcome on a stage I funded.